Have you ever felt rejected, like the very people you expected to support you were the ones who turned their backs? It's a painful feeling, one that can make you question everything. But what if I told you there's a story, a true story, about someone who faced the ultimate rejection, not with anger or despair, but with a love so powerful it changed the world? This is the story of Jesus and how he was rejected by his own people, yet still chose to love them. Imagine this: Jesus, after beginning his ministry, performing miracles and sharing profound teachings, returns to his hometown of Nazareth. You'd think they'd roll out the red carpet, right? This was their boy, the carpenter's son, now doing incredible things. But that's not what happened. The Bible tells us in the Gospel of Luke that when he taught in their synagogue, they were initially amazed. They said, "Isn't this Joseph's son?" But that familiarity quickly turned to contempt. They couldn't see past the boy they knew, the local kid who grew up among them. They saw the ordinary, not the extraordinary. They wanted a show, a sign, a miracle right there on their terms. But Jesus knew their hearts. He told them, "Truly I tell you, no prophet is accepted in his hometown." Their response? They were filled with rage. They drove him out of town and took him to the brow of the hill on which the town was built, in order to throw him off the cliff. Can you imagine that? The people he grew up with, his neighbors, wanted to end his life simply because he didn't fit into their box. He challenged their expectations, and they couldn't handle it. But Jesus, a picture of calm and authority, simply walked right through the crowd and went on his way. He didn't retaliate. He didn't curse them. He just moved on, his mission uninterrupted. This rejection in Nazareth was just the beginning. As his ministry grew, he faced even more intense opposition, not from strangers, but from the very religious leaders of his day, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the teachers of the law. These were the men who had dedicated their lives to studying the scriptures. They were supposed to be the experts on God. You'd think they would be the first to recognize the Messiah they had been waiting for. But instead of celebrating him, they saw him as a threat. Why? Because Jesus didn't play by their rules. He healed on the Sabbath, which they considered work. He ate with tax collectors and sinners, people they deemed unclean. He spoke of a kingdom that wasn't about earthly power or political control, but about love, mercy, and a direct relationship with God. He taught with an authority that came from God himself, not from their man-made traditions. Every miracle he performed, instead of inspiring faith, fueled their jealousy. When he healed a man born blind, they interrogated the man, trying to discredit the miracle. When he raised Lazarus from the dead, a stunning display of divine power, their reaction wasn't awe. John's Gospel tells us that from that day on, they plotted to take his life. They couldn't deny his power, so they decided they had to eliminate the source of it. They twisted his words, accused him of blasphemy, and called him a friend of sinners, as if it were an insult. But for Jesus, it was a badge of honor. He came for the lost, the broken, the very people the religious elite had cast aside. This constant wave of rejection from those who should have known better is a central theme of his life. The Gospel of John puts it so powerfully. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. He was the fulfillment of all their prophecies, the light they had been promised. Yet when the light shone in the darkness did not understand it. They preferred their comfortable, predictable darkness to the revealing, transformative light he offered. So how did Jesus respond to all this? This is the most incredible part of the story. He didn't become bitter. He didn't give up. He didn't stop loving them. In fact, the rejection seemed to fuel his purpose. Every time they pushed him away, he leaned in further with love. He knew his mission was bigger than their acceptance. He was on a rescue mission from God for all of humanity, including the very people who were trying to destroy him. Think about one of the most poignant moments in the Bible. Jesus is weeping, but he's not weeping for himself. He's looking over the city of Jerusalem, the heart of the Jewish nation, the city that would soon demand his crucifixion, and he weeps for them. He says, "Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those sent to you, how often I have longed to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you were not willing." That is the heart of God on display, a heart that aches for those who reject it, a love that persists in the face of hatred. This brings us to the cross, the ultimate act of rejection. His own disciple Judas betrayed him for 30 pieces of silver. His closest followers abandoned him in his hour of need. The crowds that had hailed him as king just days before were now shouting, "Crucify him!" The religious leaders mocked him as he hung there, suffering. He was utterly alone, rejected by man. And what were his words from that cross? Did he call down fire from heaven? Did he curse his enemies? No. His first words were a prayer. "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." In the midst of unimaginable pain and betrayal, his heart was still overflowing with love and forgiveness for his rejectors. He saw past their actions to their spiritual blindness. He chose love. He chose forgiveness. He chose to lay down his life, not in defeat, but as a deliberate act of love to save the very people who were killing him. This is the viral angle for our own lives. How do we respond when we're rejected? When a friend betrays us, a family member misunderstands us, or we're overlooked for a promotion we deserve. Our natural instinct is to get defensive, to lash out, to build walls around our hearts to protect ourselves. We might seek revenge or retreat into bitterness. But Jesus shows us a radically different way. He teaches us that our worth and purpose are not defined by the acceptance of others. His identity was secure in his relationship with his Father. He knew who he was and what he was sent to do. Rejection couldn't derail his mission because his mission wasn't dependent on popular opinion. It was dependent on the will of God. This is a powerful lesson for us. When we ground our identity in something unshakable, like our faith and our intrinsic value as human beings, the sting of rejection loses its power. Jesus also shows us that love is not a feeling. It's a choice. It's an action. It's easy to love those who love us back, but the real test of character is loving our enemies, praying for those who persecute us, and extending grace when we receive none. This isn't about being a doormat. Jesus wasn't weak. He spoke truth to power and confronted hypocrisy. But his confrontations were always aimed at restoration, not destruction. His love was a strong, purposeful love that sought the good of the other, even when the other was acting as an enemy. Overcoming rejection with love and purpose means we see the bigger picture. We understand that hurt people hurt people. We choose compassion over contempt. It means we refuse to let bitterness take root in our hearts because bitterness only poisons ourselves. Instead, we entrust our pain to God and choose the path of forgiveness, not for the other person's sake, but for our own freedom. We continue to walk in our purpose, just as Jesus walked through the angry mob in Nazareth and continued on his way. We don't let the rejection of others stop us from fulfilling the mission we have been given. The story of Jesus' rejection is not a tragedy, it's a triumph, because through that rejection, he accomplished the greatest act of love in history. His death and resurrection opened the way for all of us, his past, present, and future rejectors, to be welcomed into the family of God. John's Gospel continues, "Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God." The invitation is still open. So, the next time you face rejection, remember Jesus. Remember his courage, his unwavering purpose, and his astonishing love. Let his story empower you to rise above the pain, to forgive freely, and to love extravagantly. Because a life lived in love, in spite of rejection, is a life of true power and ultimate victory. Thank you so much for watching today. If this message resonated with you, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss our next video. We'd love to have you as part of our community. See you next time.